You are the reckoning that they won't forget this new year. Not the resolution crowd with their fresh notebooks and fake discipline. Not the motivational quote crowd posting day, one like it's a miracle. But the quiet storm that walked into January already carrying receipts, scars, and a grin that makes people nervous. They thought the calendar flip would reset you back to manageable, polite, grateful, small. But instead, it sharpened you like the universe tapped your shoulder and said, "All right, go ahead. Ruin their expectations for sport. You didn't come into this year healed. You came in dangerous, stitched together with spite, humor, and a memory that never forgets who tried to play you stupid. See, that's the part that messes with them. You're not loud about it. You don't announce revenge. You don't post countdowns. You just exist differently now. Your laugh hits wrong. Your silence lasts longer. Your patience looks like a trap. And suddenly, the same people who slept fine while you were drowning can't get comfortable anymore. People. They swear you changed like it's an insult, like growth wasn't forged by being cornered, underestimated, laughed at, and straightened back up with a crooked smile and a plan. You didn't turn bitter, you turned precise. Bull. And that scares the hell out of folks who survive on chaos but can't handle consequences. This new year isn't about fresh starts. It's about unfinished business. Finally learning your name. It's about you walking past old doors without even touching the handle. These civilized people. Watching people panic because they built their whole personality around you staying stuck in last year's version. They wanted you tired, distracted, chasing approval, apologizing for being intense. But now you're calm in a way that feels illegal. You don't argue anymore. You observe. You don't explain. You execute. And every time they try to bait you into the old you, all they get back is that look. People, the one that says you already ran the numbers and they don't end well. And yeah, it's funny as hell when you think about it, because they thought the pressure would break you, thought the stress would fold you, thought the isolation would humble you into silence. Instead, gave you clarity, gave you timing, pull, gave you the ability to smile while the room realizes they misjudged the whole situation. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to collect outcomes. Civilized people. And nothing rattles insecure people more than someone who doesn't need applause to move mountains. So let them toast to a new year, pretending nothing's changed. Let them recycle the same promises, the same fake optimism, the same shallow confidence. You're the reckoning they won't forget. Not because you're loud, but because you're inevitable. These civilized people, you're the reminder that survival turns into power when mixed with patience and a twisted sense of humor. And when this year is done and they're looking back, trying to figure out where everything shifted, civilized people, where control slipped, where the balance tipped, they're going to remember this feeling right here. The moment they realized you weren't just still standing, you were coming. And the wild part is you didn't even mean to become this version. You were just trying to breathe without someone stepping on your chest. Trying to live without constantly explaining yourself to people. Committed to misunderstanding you. Somewhere between the sleepless nights, the fake smiles, the quiet rage you swallowed just to keep the peace. Something snapped clean instead of breaking messy. That's when the chaos got organized. When the noise in your head turned into strategy. When the jokes got darker and the patience got surgical. You stopped asking why me and started asking how far. And that's a dangerous shift for anyone who built their comfort on your confusion. They still test you though, because habits die loud and stupid. They poke. These civilized people, they sneak comments in like little knives wrapped in humor. They watch to see if you'll flinch, if you'll revert back to the version they could predict, and you let them try because there's nothing funnier than watching someone realize mid-sentence that the power dynamic changed and nobody sent a memo. People, your reactions are delayed now, controlled, almost polite. And that restraint feels louder than any outburst ever did. You're not calm because you're weak. You're calm because you already know how this ends. This year isn't about burning bridges. It's about letting people cross themselves off the map. You don't need dramatic exits or villain speeches. Life does the unfollowing for you. When you stop lowering yourself to fit in rooms built too small, you walk lighter because you dropped dead weight. And somehow that makes people feel judged, like your peace is a personal attack. They swear you're cold now, distant, different. As if warmth was ever supposed to mean self-betrayal. You didn't lose your heart. You just stopped handing it to people who used it like a stress ball. People. And when things start clicking for you, when the money moves, the opportunities line up. People, the confidence settles in your posture instead of your mouth. That's when the real panic hits. That's when they start rewriting history, pretending they always supported you, always believed, always knew you'd win. You don't correct them because watching someone lie to themselves is a free show. And you've already paid enough admission in pain. You let results talk because success has a tone that doesn't need translation. So keep your head down and your humor sharp. Keep moving like someone who knows the storm already passed, and what's left is just the echo. You're not chasing the new year. It's trying to catch up to you. You are the reckoning they won't forget. Not because you destroyed everything, but because you survived it, learned from it, these civilized people, and came back refined instead of ruined. And that more than anything is what makes people remember your name long after the confetti's gone and the noise dies down. People. And the comedy in all of this is how serious they still take themselves while you've learned to laugh in the middle of the mess. They're out here making vision panic, refreshing their hordes and freshing their horoscope while you're casually dismantling expectations with a coffee in one hand and unresolved trauma in the other. They keep asking what your secret is, what book you read, what mentor you hired, and you're like, nah. People, I just got tired of lying to myself and letting idiots rent space in my head for free. Turns out honesty is cheaper than therapy and way more effective. They swear you're lucky now. Like luck just randomly trips over people who survived hell with jokes instead of tears. They didn't see the nights you stared at the ceiling bargaining with your own sanity, The moments you almost snapped and then decided, nah, not today. I'm not giving these clowns the satisfaction. Now every win looks accidental to them. Every calm decision feels unfair. Every smile feels suspicious. They can't stand that you're not bitter, that you're not crashing out, that you're actually enjoying yourself after everything they assumed would crush you. And let's be real, these civilized people, part of you enjoys how uncomfortable it makes them when you don't react the way you're supposed to. They throw shade, you throw a joke. They try guilt, you hit them with silence. They expect drama, you give them progress. Nothing pisses people off more than someone who refuses to play the role they rehearsed for you. You're not rude, you're not loud, you're just unavailable for nonsense. These civilized people, and somehow that's the most offensive thing in the room. This year, you're not grinding yourself into dust to prove a point. You're working smart and resting like someone who finally understands burnout isn't a badge of honor. You've got boundaries now, real ones, not the fake Instagram kind. The kind that make people adjust their tone mid-sentence. You don't overshare. You don't over-explain. These civilized people, and you definitely don't chase validation from folks who confuse chaos with personality. You move with intention. And yeah, you still laugh at inappropriate moments because if you don't laugh, you'd start listing names, so let them keep guessing. Keep mislabeling you. Keep pretending they don't feel the shift when you walk into the room. You're not here to scare anyone. These civilized people, you just stopped shrinking to make others comfortable. You're enjoying the irony, the timing, the way things are finally clicking without you forcing them. And when this year keeps unfolding in your favor, and they ask how you stayed so calm through all of it, the answer will be simple and inconvenient. You learned to trust yourself. You stopped arguing with fools. And you realize the funniest revenge is living well while they're still stuck explaining themselves. And the best part is how normal your days look now compared to how loud the impact is. No dramatic entrances, no victory speeches. People, just you minding your business while people quietly spiral trying to understand how you slip past their expectations without permission. They keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for you to mess it up, for karma to balance things out. Because in their world, nobody's allowed to rise without punishment. Meanwhile, you're over here like, nah, I already paid in advance with interest. They still bring up old versions of you like it's evidence in a trial that nobody asked for. Remember when you used to be this? Remember when you said that? Remember when you didn't have it together? And you just nod like, yeah, that was a wild season. Glad it ended. Growth freaks people out because it removes their leverage. They can't push buttons that aren't wired anymore. And nothing humbles a manipulator faster than realizing the controls don't work. You've also mastered the art of selective effort. You don't argue with strangers. You don't chase closure. These civilized people. And you definitely don't waste energy correcting people committed to misunderstanding you. You save your fire for things that matter, and the rest gets humor and distance. That balance right there, that's what took you from reactive to untouchable. Not numb, not heartless, just done bleeding in public for entertainment. And yeah, some days you still feel the weight because you're human, not a motivational poster. But even on the heavy days, you don't fold. You adjust. You've learned how to sit with discomfort without letting it drive. How to feel everything without letting it hijack your direction. That's grown person strength. The kind nobody claps for, but everybody notices when it walks by. So keep going. Keep moving like someone who knows their worth doesn't need an audience. Let them stay confused. Let them talk. Let them try to figure you out like it's a puzzle they lost the box to. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be solid in who you are. And when this year is over and they're still asking how you pulled it off without blowing up your life, the answer will stay the same. You stopped performing pain. You chose peace with teeth. And you let consistency do the talking. And don't get it twisted. You didn't suddenly become soft just because you're calm now. You're still sharp. You just don't swing at everything that moves like you're bored and trying to prove a point. People, you learned restraint the hard way. Learned that not every battle deserves your energy. Especially when half the opponents are fighting imaginary wars in their own heads. Watching people argue with a version of you that doesn't exist anymore is low-key hilarious. Like shadowboxing while you're already halfway home. They try to bait you with urgency, with drama, with you got to respond right now energy, and you move at your own pace, which somehow drives them insane. You don't rush decisions. You don't panic at noise, and you don't mistake motion for progress anymore. That patience isn't passive, it's calculated. The kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you're building. You're not behind. You're just not running the same race. There's also this new flavor to your confidence that doesn't beg for approval. You don't need to dominate rooms or win every conversation because you already won the internal one. You stopped arguing with yourself, stopped doubting every instinct, stopped shrinking just to keep the vibe friendly. Now you walk around with that quiet I know, something you don't energy. And people feel it even if they can't explain it without sounding insecure. And yeah, some folks will call you cold, distant, or selfish for choosing yourself. But that's just projection dressed up as concern. They miss access, not connection. They miss the version of you that overgave, over-explained, and overextended until you were exhausted. You don't owe anyone that version ever again. And the fact that you don't apologize for it is what really rattles them. So keep stacking days. These civilized people keep laughing at the absurdity, keep showing up for your life like it actually belongs to you now. You're not chasing validation. You're building momentum. And momentum doesn't care about opinions. When the year keeps proving you right and they're still trying to label what you're doing, let them struggle for the words. You already found the rhythm. You already know the game, and you're finally playing it without sabotaging yourself for the comfort of others. And let's be honest, half the growth came from realizing some people are just professional distractions with Wi-Fi, always loud. People, always urgent, always in your business, but somehow never improving their own situation. People, you stop taking advice from folks whose biggest accomplishment is surviving another week without accountability. Now, when someone starts preaching at you with zero results to show for it, you don't argue. You just mentally file them under background noise and keep sipping your drink like nothing happened. The jokes got darker because life forced your hand. When you've seen enough nonsense up close, humor stops being cute and starts being a coping mechanism with teeth. And these civilized people, you laugh at stuff that makes other people uncomfortable because you already cried about it alone at 3 in the morning months ago. That laugh isn't denial. It's proof you processed the pain and turned it into something useful. If they're offended, that's usually a sign they're still stuck in the phase you already graduated from. People keep mistaking your peace for arrogance. Civilized people, which is hilarious because they never noticed you were humble when you were being disrespected. Now that you're calm, clear, and unavailable for circus acts, suddenly you're different. Yeah, no kidding. That's the point. These civilized people. You didn't go through all that chaos just to come back and play nice with people who confuse kindness with weakness and honesty with attitude. You also stopped explaining yourself to people who only listen long enough to twist your words. If someone doesn't get you now, they're probably not supposed to. Not everyone earns a front row seat to your life. And some folks barely deserve the highlights. That boundary alone eliminated half the stress and about 90% of the nonsense, and somehow made your life funnier because you're no longer the straight man in everyone else's comedy of errors. So keep laughing, keep moving. Keep letting your progress do the talking while you mind your business like it's a full-time job with benefits. You don't need to announce anything. You don't need to prove anything. These civilized people, and you definitely don't need to drag anyone with you. When people finally realize you're not playing around this year and never were, all you'll do is smile, crack a joke, and keep it pushing, because nothing hits harder than someone who survived the madness. People learned the lesson and still managed to enjoy the ride without losing their edge. And let's not pretend you didn't earn this attitude the hard way. This isn't arrogance. This is earned sarcasm. This is what happens when you've been calm, polite, patient, understanding, forgiving, and still got played like background music. At some point, the universe looks at you and goes, yeah, enough of that nice stuff. Let's upgrade the software. Now your tolerance is selective. Your radar is military grade, civilized people. And your humor has the accuracy of a sniper who's been waiting years for a clear shot. People keep confusing your confidence with disrespect, which is wild, because they had no issue disrespecting you when you were quiet. Now you speak less and somehow that's louder. You don't chase conversations, you end them. You don't argue points, you let reality finish the sentence. These civilized people. Someone starts talking reckless and you're already mentally ordering food because whatever they're saying clearly isn't worth your appetite. These civilized people, that kind of detachment drives control freaks insane, and the laughs, oh, they're different now. You laugh at the timing, the irony, The way people expose themselves without you lifting a finger. Folks out here telling on themselves like it's open mic night, and you're just nodding like, yeah, that tracks. People, you stop needing villains because people reveal exactly who they are when you stop chasing their approval. Comedy writes itself when you stop trying to manage impressions. You also don't romanticize struggle anymore. People, which shocks people who their whole personality around suffering loudly. You're not trying to be relatable. You're trying to be stable. You're not chasing chaos for character development. You already passed that chapter. Now you want results, peace, and a life that doesn't feel like a constant emotional hostage situation. If that makes you boring to unstable people, congratulations, that's called progress. So, yeah, you might seem colder, sharper, or less impressed. But that's because you finally learned the difference between empathy and self-sabotage. You still care, and just not at the expense of your sanity. You still help, just not people who confuse kindness with access. And you still laugh, probably more than ever, because once you stop taking nonsense personally, it becomes entertainment instead of trauma. Keep moving like this. Keep choosing humor over spirals, clarity over chaos, and consistency over loud promises. You're not proving anything anymore. You're just living better. And that's what really messes with them. Because nothing humbles people faster than realizing you're no longer bothered, no longer begging, no longer stuck, just focused, amused, and way too comfortable in your own skin to be dragged back into nonsense. And the funniest twist is how life starts cooperating the moment you stop chasing it like a desperate salesperson. Doors open without you knocking, timing lines up without you forcing it. And suddenly people swear you manifested something magical. Nah, you just stopped panicking. People stopped overcorrecting, stopped begging situations to work that were clearly allergic to you. Turns out when you stop fighting reality, reality stops body slamming you for entertainment. You've also developed that dangerous ability to clock nonsense instantly. Someone starts talking, and within three sentences you already know if they're confused, insecure, projecting, or full of hot air wrapped in confidence. You don't call it out because watching them keep talking is way funnier. It's like letting someone dig a hole with enthusiasm while you quietly step to the side. They think they're making a point. Meanwhile, you're mentally grading the performance and deducting points for effort. And let's talk about how peaceful it feels not explaining yourself anymore. No essays, no clarifications. No, that's not what I meant. If someone misunderstands you now, you let them. People, you're not running customer service for people's assumptions. The ones meant to get you will, and the rest can build whatever fan fiction they want. You've learned that clarity is wasted on people addicted to confusion. You're also done pretending disrespect is just how they are. Nah, that was just how you tolerated it. Big difference. Now, the moment someone crosses a line, the vibe changes so fast it feels like the room glitched. Oh, yelling, no drama. Just an invisible door quietly closing. That kind of response rattles people more than any argument ever could, because it tells them access was a privilege they just lost. So yeah, keep laughing at the absurdity. Keep enjoying how light things feel when you're no longer dragging emotional dead weight. Keep showing up steady while others keep reinventing the same problems with new excuses. These civilized people, you already know this year hits different because you do. You're not chasing approval. These civilized people, you're not fighting ghosts, and you're definitely not dimming yourself for anyone's comfort. And when they eventually realize you're not coming back to the old version, when they finally understand the jokes weren't jokes, and the calm wasn't weakness, it'll already be too late. You'll be busy living, building, and laughing your way forward. Completely unbothered, completely locked in people, and way too grounded to ever be dragged back into the nonsense that used to drain you. These civilized people, and by now you've noticed how different your energy feels when you walk into rooms you used to shrink in. Same walls, same people, same stale opinions, but something's off. It's you. You're not scanning faces for approval, not adjusting your tone to keep the peace, not bracing for impact like you used to. You're relaxed, almost amused, like someone who already knows the plot twist and is just watching everyone else catch up. That comfort in yourself is unsettling to people who survive off reaction and control. They still try the old tricks though, the subtle digs, the just joking comments, the fake concern wrapped in shade. And you smile like you just heard a bad joke that wasn't worth correcting. Nothing deflates nonsense faster than indifference mixed with confidence. You don't need to win conversations anymore because you already won your freedom from caring how they end. That's a level of peace people talk about, but rarely reach because it requires letting go of being liked. You've also realized how many people were never rooting for you, just rooting against the idea of you surpassing them. That realization used to hurt. Now it just explains a lot. It's easier to laugh when the puzzle pieces finally fit. You're not paranoid. You were observant. You weren't sensitive. You were aware. And now that you trust that awareness, you move cleaner, sharper, and way less apologetic. This year, you're not in survival mode. You're in maintenance mode. Protect the peace. Guard the focus. Feed the things that actually grow. Everything else gets humor and distance. You're not dramatic. You're efficient. You're not cold. You're selective. And if someone can't handle that, that's not a flaw. That's a filter doing its job. So keep letting your calm confuse them. Keep letting your progress irritate them. Keep letting your laughter remind them you're not stuck in the same emotional loop they're still calling life. You didn't harden, you clarified. You didn't lose your edge, you sharpened it. And the best part, you're finally enjoying the process instead of just surviving it. That right there is the part they'll never be able to forget. So Happy New Year. Start it with a grin that scares everyone who ever doubted you.